Going to return a little bit to the theme of the nerdish, bookish boy and why we don't see that kind of character very often in contemporary fiction. I'm thinking here specifically of a boy who is unusually bookish and also unusually unsuccessful with girls his own age, despite the fact that he has many characteristics that a lot of girls his age do like. And part of the problem for this kind of boy is that he tends to be physically plain. He's not a Chad, and he tends to fall for Stacy's, the very pretty girls at school. He just can't seem to resist the pull of them, even though he knows that they are not really quote unquote his type. And so part of the tragedy is that this kind of boy tends to pine, tends to develop what South Koreans call one-sided love, unrequited love, for very pretty, very charismatic girls, and these crushes often last years. Now, this theme does get dealt with in fiction and in art, but in YA fiction, especially in contemporary Anglophone Canada, there's a big, big emphasis these days in terms of, at least in terms of what media thinks deserves coverage, on queer kids, and they deserve their own stories too. But at a certain point, you've got to wonder if there's a bit of reverse discrimination that's occurring. Similarly, in literary fiction, again, there's a big focus on diversity, including LGBTQ plus, and that's fine as far as it goes, but it leads to oversimplifications. And I was struck by this when I was reading a passage that was in Granta, taken from Flesh, the David Saleh novel that has received a lot of attention. This is a story about a painfully shy young boy who's just sort of moping around, who wants to get laid, and ends up having his first sexual experiences with an older woman, an older married woman, who takes a fancy to him. He doesn't feel any attraction to her. She's clearly quite attracted to him, and they have a quite sexual love affair, which is described in its all sort of disappointing minutiae by Saleh. However, what's striking about Istvan, the protagonist in that story, is that he's not a nerd. He doesn't have that sort of jokey sensibility that bookish, nerdish boys tend to have. He's not talkative. And if he looks anything like Saleh does, he is in his own way, in his own sort of awkward, clumsy way, a Chad. He's physically attractive. There's obviously something that this older woman is physically attracted to in him. And so he sort of falls into a different category than these sort of nerdish, bookish boys that I'm thinking of. Probably one of the best examples in contemporary narrative art that I can think of a clumsy boy, although he's not that clumsy. Again, he's a little bit of a Chad. Chad here is the modern term for sort of a cool guy. He does have a very good looking girlfriend. In the beginning, this is a movie called The Spectacular Now, an American indie movie that I strongly recommend, and apparently it was based on a novel. In this book, the protagonist is very outgoing and rather confident, but he's a proto-alcoholic and he's a total slacker at school. And he ends up getting dumped by his rather pretty, charismatic girlfriend because of his slacker qualities, not because of his nerd qualities. And he sort of is at loose ends, and he ends up getting involved with a girl who herself is a nerd. And the story is quite interesting because the performances are amazing. And the girl that the boy gets involved with is the outsider. She's the one who lacks confidence, the one who thinks that nobody will pay attention to her. It's very touchingly done. It's very intelligently done. But again, this is a theme that's rarely taken on in 21st century narrative fiction and movie making.